Hey everyone, welcome back to another session of our CISSP study group. I'm B-Dubs, and I'm pumped to dive into these topics with you today. Whether you're working hard to pass the CISSP exam or you just love digging into cybersecurity, you're in the perfect spot. I really appreciate your dedication, and I'm thrilled to be on this journey with you. Last time, we wrapped up Domain 3. If you missed it, no worries. I've got a playlist for you to catch up. I'll share the link in chat so you can watch it later at your own pace. Today, we're diving into Domain 4, Communication and Network Security. Objective 4.1, Applying Secure Design Principles in Network Architectures. Think of network as the nervous system of an organization. It connects all the parts. It keeps information flowing, but if it's not secure, the whole system is at risk. Today, we'll start with the basics, like what exactly is a network. Then we'll explore the OSI and TCP IP models. We'll also look at secure protocols to protect our data, and even touch on advanced topics like software-defined networking. And hey, this isn't just about passing the exam. It's about understanding how networks work in the real world. What exactly is a network? We're starting with the basics here. What's a network and why does it matter? At its core, a network is two or more devices. Think computers, smartphones, or servers that are connected so they can communicate with each other. To do this, they use protocols, which are essentially the rules of the conversation. Without these rules, it's just chaos, and no one would understand each other. Now, why should you care about all of this? Well, networks are everywhere. They allow businesses to share files, connect with customers, and basically keep operations running smoothly. But here's the thing, they're also a prime target for hackers. If a network isn't secure, it's like leaving the front door wide open for cyber criminals. And just so you know, networks come in different types. We have local area networks, or LANs, which are used in smaller areas, like an office, and then wide area networks, or WANs, which connect devices over larger distances, like across cities or even countries. Now that we understand what a network is, let's look at how they actually work with the OSI and TCP IP models. So how do networks function? That's where the OSI and TCP IP models come in. They're like the blueprints for network communication. Imagine you're sending a package through the mail. You write a letter, put it in an envelope, address it, and then hand it off to the postal service. They take care of delivering it to the right place. Networks operate in a similar way, and the OSI model helps us understand that process. The OSI model breaks down network communication into 7 layers, each with a specific job. First, we have layer 1, the physical layer. Think cables and signals. Layer 2 is the data link layer, where devices on the same network talk to each other. Layer 3, the network layer, is responsible for routing data across different networks. Layer 4, the transport layer, ensures reliable delivery. Layer 5, the session layer, focuses on managing connections between devices. Layer 6, the presentation layer, handles data formatting and encryption. And finally, we have layer 7, the application layer, where your applications and services live. So how does data move through these layers? Imagine you're sending a gift to a friend. You start with the gift itself, that's your data. Then you wrap it in tissue paper, put it in a box, wrap the box, and finally put it in a shipping package with an address label. Each step adds more information to ensure it gets to the right place. That's encapsulation. As data moves from layer 1 up to layer 7, each layer adds its own wrapping or header, like those nesting dolls. When it reaches its destination, the process reverses. Each layer removes its wrapping step by step until the original data is revealed at layer 1. That's decapsulation. There's several different mnemonics that exist to remember these layers, but I like to remember them starting from the bottom, with "please do not throw sausage pizza away." Understanding this is key for us as professionals because it shows how networks handle data securely at each stage. Now, alongside the OSI model, there's the TCP IP model, which is the actual model that real-world networks use. It's similar, but it simplifies the 7 OSI layers into 4 layers. We start at the top with the application layer, which combines OSI's top 3 layers: session, presentation, and application. Then we have the transport layer, which is the same for both TCP IP and OSI models. Then the internet layer is like OSI's network layer. And then finally, the link layer merges OSI's physical and data link layers. Even though it's structured differently, the concept of encapsulation and decapsulation still applies. Data gets wrapped as it goes up the model and unwrapped as it comes down. Let's see how this works as we dive into each layer of the OSI model, starting with layer 1. Alright, we're kicking it off at layer 1, the physical layer. This is where the magic starts. This is the nuts and bolts, the cables and physical hardware powering our network connections. It's all about turning data into bits, those zeros and ones, and sending them across the network. Physical security forms the foundation of network protection. An unauthorized person gaining physical access to infrastructure could completely compromise the network by cutting cables or accessing server rooms directly. To prevent this, we implement comprehensive security measures. Access to network facilities requires multiple authentication factors through card systems and biometric scanners. We also maintain strict environmental controls to monitor temperature and humidity levels. Surveillance through CCTV cameras and motion sensors provides continuous monitoring, while security guards conduct regular patrols and maintain detailed access logs. For transmission media, we have several options here. Traditional twisted pair Ethernet cables offer speeds up to 10 gigabytes per second, but are limited to distances of about 100 meters. Coaxial cables provide better electromagnetic interference resistance and can extend to 500 meters or more. Now, fiber optic cables represent the premium choice. They're the fastest, most secure option and can span several kilometers, though at a much higher cost. Wireless transmission uses various technologies. Wi-Fi radio frequencies offer convenience, but they remain vulnerable to interference. Infrared requires a direct line of sight, but it works well for secure short-range communications. Microwave links deliver high bandwidth, but they can be affected by weather conditions. Security vulnerabilities exist across all transmission types. Copper cables can be tapped to intercept data, wireless signals face jamming attacks, and any physical infrastructure needs protection against tampering. To maintain a secure physical layer, we follow several key practices. Sensitive data transmission should use fiber optic cables since they're extremely difficult to tap without detection. All cabling requires proper shielding and secure conduit installation. Regular physical security audits help identify potential vulnerabilities. We must remember that signals propagate in all directions, so strong encryption becomes essential since anyone within range and with the proper tools could potentially intercept transmissions. Now let's explore the different transmission methods within the physical layer. First, unicast is one-to-one transmission, like a private phone call between two people. It's inherently more secure since only two devices are communicating directly with each other. Then we have multicast, which is one-to-many transmission, similar to a video conference where specific participants receive the data. This requires careful access control to ensure only authorized recipients get the information. Now, broadcast transmits to everyone, like a radio station, sending signals to all nearby receivers. While this might be efficient for mass communication, it's more vulnerable to interception. Finally, Anycast targets the nearest available device, like automatically connecting to the closest emergency services when you dial 911, or automatically connecting to the nearest CDN server for faster response times. At the physical layer, we have several key devices. Hubs simply blast data to all connected ports, while repeaters boost signals to extend network reach. Network interface cards, or NICs, are crucial components that not only connect devices but also handle MAC addressing. Now, network switches handle data in two main ways. In cut-through switching, the switch reads just the destination address and forwards packets immediately. While this provides excellent speed, it can't catch corrupted data. On the other hand, store and forward switching receives and checks the entire packet before sending it along. This method is slower, but it offers better security through error detection. Although this isn't heavily emphasized on the exam, these speed versus security trade-offs reflect real-world networking decisions you might face in your career. Now let's talk about performance metrics. Think of bandwidth like a water pipe's maximum capacity. It's your theoretical top speed. Throughput is the actual water flow you get. This is what speed you're really achieving. Just like traffic can slow down water pressure, network congestion can reduce your throughput. Latency is like ordering food at a restaurant. It's the time between placing your order or sending data and receiving your meal or getting a response. Jitter is when your food arrives at inconsistent times. Sometimes it's quick or sometimes it's slow. This inconsistency is particularly problematic for real-time communications, like video calls. The signal-to-noise ratio is like trying to hear someone in a crowded room. The clearer the voice compared to the background noise, the better. A higher ratio means clear communication. These metrics are crucial for security too. Unusual patterns can signal trouble. Sudden bandwidth spikes might indicate data theft, while latency spikes could mean a DDoS attack. That's why it's essential to establish baseline performance metrics and monitor for suspicious deviations. As for traffic flows, think of north-south traffic as data entering and leaving your data center, like customers coming and going from a store, while east-west traffic is internal communications, like employees talking to each other inside that store. Understanding these metrics and traffic patterns helps us place security controls effectively. Remember, this layer is our foundation. If it's not secure and performing well, everything built on top of it is at risk. Next, let's step up to Layer 2, where everything gets just a little bit smarter. Layer 2 is the data link layer. This is like your local post office. It manages communication between devices on the same network using MAC, or Media Access Control addresses. These are unique 48-bit identifiers built into every network card. Think of a MAC address as a device's fingerprint. It's permanent and unique. This layer packages data into frames from the physical layer to better understand, while switches and bridges act as the sorting offices, directing traffic efficiently. There are two fundamental network types: circuit-switched and packet-switched networks. Circuit-switched networks establish a dedicated end-to-end path, like traditional phone lines, maintaining the same connection throughout. Packet-switched networks, like the modern internet, they split data into packets that can follow different routes through dynamic routing. A crucial protocol here is the Address Resolution Protocol, or ARP, which maps IP addresses to MAC addresses. However, be cautious of ARP poisoning, a security threat where attackers spoof MAC addresses to intercept traffic. To protect against this, implement strategies like static ARP entries for critical systems and ARP monitoring tools. The Reverse Address Resolution Protocol, or RARP, does the opposite. It's mapping MAC addresses to IP addresses. Key devices at this layer include bridges that connect networks and switches that intelligently forward frames to specific MAC addresses. For VPN tunneling, Layer 2 protocols like L2TP, or Layer 2 Tunneling Protocol, and PPTP, or Point-to-Point Tunneling Protocol, come into play. Note that PPTP has known security vulnerabilities, while L2TP is typically paired with IPsec for better security. These protocols work with higher layer authentication mechanisms like PAP, CHAP, or EAP, which we'll explore later. It's really a team effort across all of these layers, like a relay race passing a baton to secure your connection. Now let's keep moving and climb to Layer 3, where data starts its global journey. Layer 3 is the network layer. This is my favorite. Think of this layer like a global postal system. Just as every house needs a unique address for mail delivery, every device on the internet needs a unique IP address. For example, when you type in 8.8.8, you're essentially addressing an envelope to Google's public DNS server. As far as devices go, routers are the master mail sorters here. They maintain detailed routing tables, like constantly updated maps of the network, to figure out the most efficient path for your data. When they detect network congestion, like a traffic jam, or failed connection, like a closed road, they'll automatically find a new route. These routing decisions are based on factors like path distance, connection speed, and network conditions. But just like any system, there are security concerns. The biggest threat is IP spoofing. Imagine someone faking a return address on a letter. Attackers can impersonate legitimate IP addresses to sneak past security. That's where our firewalls come in as our security checkpoints, verifying the authenticity of IP addresses and blocking suspicious traffic. This layer works closely with Layer 2 below it, which handles local delivery, and Layer 4 above it, which ensures reliable delivery. Think of Layer 3 as the National Postal Service, while Layer 2 is your local mail carrier, and then Layer 4 is the tracking and confirmation system. Local addressing is the core of this layer, and we use two main addressing schemes. IPv4 uses 32-bit addresses divided into 4 octets. While IPv4's 4.3 billion addresses seemed enormous when it was initially created, the explosion of internet-connected devices has nearly exhausted this pool. To extend IPv4's lifespan, we developed CIDR, the classless interdomain routing, but it's just a temporary solution. Then came IPv6 with its 128-bit addresses, written as 8 groups of hexadecimal numbers. To put this into perspective, while IPv4 can address about 4.3 billion devices, IPv6 can handle approximately 340 undecillion addresses. That's 340 followed by 36 zeros. Now let's talk about public versus private IP addresses. Think of public IPs as your home street address. They're unique and visible to everyone on the internet. Private IPs, on the other hand, are like hidden apartment numbers inside of a building. They come in specific ranges. The first is 10.0.0.0/8. Then we have 172.16.0.0/12. And then finally, 192.168.0.0/16. Now note that that's the CIDR notation of those ranges. These private addresses stay hidden behind network address translation, or NAT. Think of NAT like a receptionist at a large office building. When an employee or private IP needs to communicate with the outside world, the receptionist, or the NAT, uses the building's main address or public IP to send and receive messages. This not only conserves public IP addresses, but also adds a layer of security by hiding your internal network structure. Now let me explain IPv4 addressing just a little bit, starting with the traditional class system. When we look at Class A networks, they start with numbers 1 through 126 in the first octet, and are absolutely massive, supporting up to 16.7 million hosts. You should note that in the last octet, 0 is reserved for special use, and 127 is kept for loopback testing. These networks are typically given to large organizations or government agencies. Moving to Class B networks, they use numbers 128 through 191 in the first octet, and can support about 65,000 hosts each. These were perfect for universities or medium-sized enterprises. Class C networks using 192 through 223 provide about 254 hosts and work well for small businesses or department networks. Now here's where it gets really interesting. We can use subnetting to break these networks into smaller, more manageable pieces. This flexibility gives us several important security benefits. First, we can isolate sensitive systems from general access. We can also apply different security policies to each subnet, get better visibility into network segments for monitoring, and contain potential attacks by limiting how far they can spread through the network. While modern networks typically use CIDR or classless interdomain routing instead of traditional classes because it offers more flexible subnet sizes, understanding both approaches is essential for security professionals working in today's diverse network environments. Now, these ideas on classes and subnetting can go down a really deep rabbit hole. You really just need to have a high-level understanding of what it is and how it works. However, if you really want to dive in further, I would highly recommend checking out my friend Ben Heater's website. He has loads of resources and information available for free to learn from. But specifically, there's one write-up he did for computer networking, IP addressing, and subnetting that is incredibly useful for this topic. I'll drop the link for that in chat now so you can check it out. Now let's move on and explore the key protocols at this layer. The Internet Control Message Protocol, or ICMP, is essentially for network diagnostics. It's what makes ping and traceroute work, helping us check if devices are responsive and trace network paths. The Internet Group Management Protocol, or IGMP, manages IP multicast communications. It helps routers track which devices want to receive multicast traffic, making group communication more efficient. The Open Shortest Path First, or OSPF, is a leak state routing protocol that helps routers find the most efficient paths. It maintains detailed routing tables and quickly adapts to network changes. Now for devices, we have routers, which make routing decisions based on IP addresses. Layer 3 switches combine switching and routing capabilities, enabling advanced features like VLANs and inter-VLAN routing. Packet filtering firewalls examine traffic based on predefined rule sets, checking source and destination IPs and ports. To properly secure this layer, we implement strong access control lists, or ACLs, regularly update router firmware, and use network segmentation to isolate sensitive systems. Be aware of common threats like IP spoofing and routing attacks. Attackers might try to manipulate routing tables or impersonate legitimate IP addresses. That's why proper device configuration and regular security audits are crucial. Think of this layer as your network's travel agent, getting data where it needs to go safely and efficiently. Now let's keep moving up to Layer 4, where delivery gets a little more serious. Layer 4 is the transport layer, and it's all about making sure data gets delivered properly. Here we've got two main protocols, TCP and UDP. TCP is your dependable friend. It's slow but steady, and it uses what's known as the three-way handshake process to establish a connection. Now here's how the three-way handshake works in detail. First, the client sends a SYN, or synchronized packet, to the server saying, "Hey, I want to start a conversation." This packet includes an initial sequence number, or ISN, for tracking the conversation. Then the server responds with a SYN ACK packet, acknowledging the client's request and sending its own synchronization request. It includes both the client's ISN increased by 1 digit and its own randomly generated ISN. Finally, the client sends an ACK packet back to the server, confirming the receipt of the server's synchronization request. Now this packet includes the server's ISN, again, increased by 1 digit. Once this handshake is complete, both sides have established sequence numbers and agreed on connection parameters. Now they can start sending actual data. This process ensures reliable, ordered data delivery, but it's also why TCP is slower than UDP. Now let's talk about UDP, the User Datagram Protocol. Unlike TCP, UDP takes a send it and forget it approach. This is designed for speed over reliability, making it the perfect choice for real-time applications. When you're streaming a video or playing an online game, a few drop packets won't ruin your experience, and the speed advantage is worth the trade-off. UDP is commonly used in applications like Netflix and YouTube streaming, where speed matters more than a perfect delivery. It's also the protocol of choice for quick DNS queries when your browser needs to quickly look up a website address. And oh yeah, I was gonna tell a funny joke here, but I accidentally sent it with UDP, so you probably won't get it. But let's move on and talk about ports. These are specific endpoints that services use to communicate. Think of them like apartment numbers in a building, where each service has its designated apartment. Here are some of the most important ones: HTTP and HTTPS on TCP ports 80 and 443. FTP uses both TCP port 20 for data and TCP port 21 for control. SSH uses TCP port 22 and SMTP uses TCP port 25. Now, port ranges are organized in a specific way with 3 categories for services. The first category includes all of the well-known ports, ranging from 0 to 1023. These are reserved for common system services like HTTP and FTP. Next, we have registered ports from 1024 to 49,151, which are typically used by specific applications. For example, SQL runs on port 1433, and MongoDB uses port 27017. Finally, dynamic ports from 49,152 to 65,553 are available for temporary connections whenever they're needed. Now, this layer of the network stack faces several common security threats. Attackers might try to overwhelm servers with fake connection requests in what's called a SYN flood attack. They could also perform port scanning and look for vulnerable services. They can attempt session hijacking to take over existing connections or launch UDP floods to consume all available bandwidth. To defend against these attacks, we implement several security measures. Stateful firewalls track and monitor connections, while rate limiting helps prevent flood attacks. TCP send cookies provide protection against send floods, and SSL TLS encryption ensures data remains secure during transmission. Now next up, we're moving to layer 5, where conversations stay on track. Let's talk layer 5, the session layer. A session is a sustained connection between two devices that maintains state and context throughout their communication. Think of it like a phone call. When you dial someone, you establish a connection or a session that lasts until one party hangs up. This layer handles starting, managing, and ending these conversations securely. Authentication is crucial here because we need to verify who's on the other end. Let's look at the evolution of authentication protocols from basic to advanced. First, we have PAP, or the Password Authentication Protocol. It's the most basic and least secure. It simply sends usernames and passwords in plain text, like writing your password on a postcard in the mail. Never use this in production. Next is CHAP, or the Challenge Handshake Authentication Protocol. It represents a significant security upgrade. It encrypts passwords and regularly sends challenges to verify the session hasn't been hijacked. This is like regularly checking your friend's ID during a long conversation to make sure it's still them on the other end. And finally, there's EAP, or the Extensible Authentication Protocol. This is the most secure and flexible option. Think of it as the security Swiss Army knife with different tools for different situations. These tools include EAP TLS, EAP TTLS, and PEEP. EAP TLS uses digital certificates for both client and server authentication. This method is best for high security environments like financial institutions or government networks. EAP TTLS creates a secure tunnel with server certificates while allowing clients to use passwords. It's perfect for corporate networks balancing security with user convenience. And finally, PEEP adds an extra layer of protection by wrapping EAP in a TLS tunnel. This is commonly used in enterprise Wi-Fi networks where both security and ease of deployment matter. Now, beyond authentication, Layer 5 includes other critical protocols. NetBIOS enables file and printer sharing on local networks. But beware, it can be vulnerable to name poisoning attacks and unauthorized access if it's not properly secured. RPC, or the Remote Procedure Call, lets applications communicate across networks, but it needs careful configuration to prevent exploitation through buffer overflows or unauthorized execution. Security-focused devices at this layer include circuit proxy firewalls, which examine entire sessions rather than just the individual packets. They can detect and prevent session hijacking attempts and ensure all communication follows legitimate patterns. Remember, Layer 5 is fundamental to securing network conversations through proper session management, authentication, and access control. It's where we establish trust and maintain secure connections throughout our network interactions. Now let's keep moving up the ladder to Layer 6. Layer 6 is the presentation layer. This is where data gets polished up or formatted, encrypted, and compressed to be ready for the application layer. This layer handles critical security functions while converting data. For data formatting, text gets encoded as ASCII or Unicode, while images become JPEG or PNG. But here's where security kicks in. The layer must validate these formats to prevent injection attacks. It's like a security checkpoint that ensures no malicious code is hiding in what appears to be normal data. Encryption at this layer is crucial. Using protocols like SSL TLS, it's responsible for securing data through strong encryption algorithms like AES. Certificate validation happens here too. When sending an encrypted email, this layer not only wraps it up tight, but it also ensures the encryption keys are properly managed and validated. Compression plays a dual role in security. While it helps reduce bandwidth, like vacuum sealing clothes for efficient packing, it can also create vulnerabilities. Attacks like crime or breach exploit compression to potentially leak sensitive data. So careful implementation is essential. Now, another important aspect is codecs. These are the translators for your videos and music. They make sure your device can play that cool cat video. But here's a critical security note. Malicious actors often hide malware in codec packages. That's why you should only download codecs from trusted sources, treating unknown codec sources like suspicious packages at airport security. The presentation layer works closely with its neighbors. It prepares data security for Layer 7 while building on the secure session established by Layer 5. Think of it as the security coordinator between what users see and how the network handles their data. Remember, weak encryption or poor format validation here can compromise security across all layers. And finally, we're moving to Layer 7, where users take the stage. Layer 7 is the application layer. This is where users interact through browsers, email clients, and applications. Let's first talk protocols. There's a whole toolkit here. We've got HTTP and HTTPS, which are on ports 80 and 443 for web traffic. There's FTP and SFTP, which are on ports 20 for FTP, and SFTP uses ports 21 and 22 for file transfers. We also have DNS using port 53 on both TCP and UDP for domain name resolution. For email, there's SMTP and SMTPS using ports 25 and 465. And then POP3 uses port 110 for unencrypted and port 995 for encrypted communication. We also use LDAP and LDAP-S on ports 389 and 636 for directory services. Telnet is on port 23 and SSH is on port 22 for remote access. And then SNMP on UDP ports 161 and 162 for network management. Security is crucial here. Always use the secure versions. For example, instead of HTTP, you should use HTTPS. Instead of FTP, switch to SFTP. Attackers are out looking for these low-hanging fruits, so don't make it easy for them. For defense, at this layer, we can use web application firewalls, or WAFs. Implement strict input validation, manage sessions carefully, and enforce strong authentication. Watch out for common attacks like SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and buffer overflows. Devices at this layer include application gateways and specialized firewalls that deep inspect traffic. Now this is attack central: phishing, malware, injection attacks. So harden everything with robust filters and smart controls. Remember, most security breaches start here. All right, now we've climbed the OSI ladder. Let's secure it all with some key protocols. Now, secure network protocols are like the bodyguards for your data as it travels across networks. There are several key protocols you need to understand for the exam. First up is IPsec, which operates at layer 3 of the OSI model. IPsec uses two main components: the authentication header, or AH, for ensuring data integrity, and the encapsulating security payload, or ESP, for encryption. It can work in either transport mode for end-to-end communication or tunnel mode for gateway-to-gateway connections. The Internet Key Exchange, or IKE, protocol handles all the key management tasks for IPsec. Now we have SSH, or Secure Shell, which works at layer 7 to secure remote access. It's particularly useful for encrypted terminal access and secure file transfers. One of the key features of SSH is support for public key authentication, making it much more secure than older protocols like Telnet. SSL TLS is crucial for securing web traffic. Currently, TLS 1.2 and 1.3 are the accepted standards. All of the older versions have been deprecated due to security vulnerabilities. These protocols use certificate-based authentication and secure key exchange methods. However, you need to watch out for downgrade attacks where attackers try to force the use of weaker cipher suites. There's several other important secure protocols you should know about. SFTP and FTPS provide secure file transfers. SNMP v3 handles encrypted network management, and PGP and SMIME secure email communications. All of these protocols work together to encrypt data at different layers of the network stack. Think of IPsec as creating a secure tunnel for your network traffic, while SSL TLS acts like a shield for your web browsing. It's essential to understand where each protocol fits and why it matters. Now let's move on to designing the network itself, starting with network topologies. Network topologies define the way devices connect and communicate with each other. Different topologies each have their own security considerations that we need to understand. Now there's 4 main topologies: bus, star, mesh, and ring. In a bus topology, all devices share a single cable line that's linear. While this setup is simple and cost-effective, it's quite vulnerable. If that one cable breaks, the entire network goes down. Think of it like a string of Christmas lights where one broken bulb affects the whole string. The star topology, which you'll find in most modern networks, connects all devices to a central hub or a switch. While a hub failure could be critical, since this is a single point of failure, this setup is easier to manage and secure. It's like having all roads leading to one central point. You can monitor and control traffic more effectively here. For critical systems, we often use a mesh topology, where every device connects to multiple other devices. This provides the highest level of redundancy and fault tolerance, though it comes with higher complexity and cost. Imagine this like having multiple backup routes. If one path fails, traffic can still flow through others. A ring topology is similar to a bus topology with one cable, but it creates a closed loop where data travels in only one direction. While it's more reliable than a bus topology, it still has vulnerability to that single point of failure. When designing your network topology, you want to focus on 3 security factors: building in redundancy with alternate paths to prevent complete outages, ensuring your design can scale as your needs grow, and implementing proper access control through network segmentation. Keep in mind that you can mix and match these topologies to fit your specific needs. To handle network traffic efficiently and prevent data collisions, networks use Carrier Sense Multiple Access, or CSMA. Wired networks use CSMA/CD for collision detection, while wireless networks rely on CSMA/CA for collision avoidance. Now, network segmentation is like building a castle with multiple defensive walls. Even if attackers breach one section, the others remain protected. You can implement network segmentation either physically with separate networks and cables or logically through virtual solutions. When it comes to logical segmentation, VLANs are a powerful tool that use IEEE 802.1q standards to divide one network into multiple isolated segments. Think of it like creating separate secure offices within one building. Each Ethernet frame gets tagged to identify which VLAN it belongs to. For optimal security, always disable unused ports. Implement strict access control between VLANs, watch for potential VLAN hopping attacks, and use private VLANs to protect sensitive systems. VPNs, or virtual private networks, create secure encrypted tunnels across public networks, which is perfect for remote workers and branch offices. Another useful tool is virtual routing and forwarding, or VRF, which allows multiple routing instances on a single router. Each VRF maintains complete isolation with its own routing table. This is really useful for separating customer networks, isolating departments, and creating distinct development and production environments. For network management, you have 2 main approaches. In-band management uses the same network that carries your data. It's convenient, but it does require careful security measures like strong encryption, multi-factor authentication, and dedicated management of VLANs. Out-of-band management uses a separate network entirely. It's more secure, but needs dedicated interfaces, secure console access, and strict physical security controls. For the highest level of security, consider air-gapped networks. These are completely isolated systems, commonly used in military environments and with critical infrastructure. These require special protocols for data transfer, including one-way data diodes, strict USB policies, and of course, regular security audits. While it's highly secure, they also require on-site management and careful procedures for any updates. Remember that segmentation is a critical security control that limits potential damage and creates multiple layers of defense against attackers. Now let's take it wireless. Freedom with a side of risk. Wireless networks offer incredible freedom. There's no cables, just 802.11 magic here. However, they're also a security tightrope walk, since signals broadcast everywhere and attackers are constantly listening. Let's explore how to implement wireless security properly. When placing access points, or APs, in an enterprise environment, start by positioning them centrally. within office spaces for optimal coverage and minimal dead zones. You can also use directional antennas to precisely control and shape the wireless coverage area. And finally, you should regularly monitor signal strength at building perimeters to prevent signal leakage beyond your facility's boundaries. Wireless networks use three main authentication methods: Open Shared Key and EAP. Open authentication, which is commonly found in public areas like your local coffee shop. It provides no security, so avoid these networks unless it's absolutely necessary. Shared Key authentication offers basic security for home networks, while the Extensible Authentication Protocol, or EAP, delivers enterprise-level security, making it the recommended choice for business networks. EAP excels at authentication through secure key exchanges, using methods like EAP TLS with digital certificates or PEEP with TLS tunnels. The process works like this. First, the client initiates authentication with an EAP start message. Then the authenticator requests and receives the client's identity. Then, both parties negotiate the EAP method, which could be TLS, TTLS, or PEEP. Finally, after completing the chosen authentication method successfully, the client gains network access. Now, wireless encryption has evolved through four key standards: WEP, TKIP, WPA2, and WPA3. WEP is now deprecated due to its broken encryption and weak 64 or 128-bit keys. TKIP followed WEP as a temporary solution, offering 128-bit keys while maintaining compatibility with WEP hardware. WPA2, which is today's standard, uses 128-bit keys with AES CCMP encryption and protected management frames, or PMF. We're now in the process of transitioning to the newer WPA3, which enhances security with 192-bit keys. WPA3 introduces three crucial security improvements: simultaneous authentication of equals, or SAE, for stronger handshakes, protected management frames, or PMF, to prevent deauthorization attacks, and individual device encryption to stop eavesdropping. You can also implement additional security measures to protect your wireless networks. You can deploy wireless IDS and IPS systems, monitor for rogue access points, and track any unauthorized connection attempts. If you must connect to public Wi-Fi, make sure to always use a VPN to encrypt your traffic. Remember to use strong encryption protocols. Watch out for any interference and monitor your signal strength. Rogue access points are a serious threat with public Wi-Fi. Next, let's explore advanced network configurations reshaping the industry. We're moving on to cutting-edge network architectures. First, we have SDNs. Software-defined networking, or SDN, revolutionizes network management by separating control logic from hardware. Think of SDN like a smart city's traffic system with three different planes: the control plane, the application plane, and the data plane. The control plane acts as the traffic control center, making all routing decisions. When you access a website, it determines the fastest, most secure path for your data. It dynamically updates routing tables and access control lists based on network conditions and security policies. While this centralization enables quick security updates across the network, it does require robust protection, as this is a potential single point of failure. The data plane functions like the roads and vehicles, physically moving packets along chosen routes. For instance, when transferring files between departments, the data plane handles the actual packet forwarding through different network segments based on the control plane's instructions. SDN makes it easier to implement network segmentation and micro-segmentation for granular security controls, which is perfect for zero-trust architectures. The application plane works like city planners, setting policies through APIs. Northbound APIs connect the control plane for policy management, like setting quality of service rules for video conferencing, while southbound APIs connect to the data plane for implementation. Proper API security is crucial, including strong authentication, encryption, and regular security testing. When implementing SDN, organizations may face several challenges, including integration with legacy networks, which requires careful planning and testing. Performance monitoring is essential to prevent bottlenecks at the control plane, and security measures must protect all three planes and their interconnections. In cloud environments, SDN enables dynamic network configuration and security policy enforcement, making it easier to maintain consistent security across hybrid and multi-cloud deployments. However, organizations must carefully manage the increased complexity and potential security risks of this software-defined approach. Now, virtual private clouds, or VPCs, are logically isolated sections of a public cloud provider's infrastructure. They give you your own private network environment. VPCs allow you to create custom network architectures with multiple layers of security and isolation. Common VPC implementations include public subnets for customer-facing applications, private subnets for sensitive databases and back-end systems, separate environments for development, testing, and production, and isolation between different applications or business units. VPCs also offer multiple security controls, including Network Access Control Lists, or ACLs, and security groups for access control, VPC endpoints for secure service connections, flow logs for network traffic monitoring, and network firewalls for additional protection. Understanding the shared responsibility model is crucial here. While cloud providers secure the underlying infrastructure, customers must secure their VPC configuration, data, and applications. This includes implementing proper network segmentation, encrypting data in transit and at rest, regularly auditing security group roles, and monitoring API access. Understand how these technologies shape modern networks and their security implications. Now let's shine a light on the unsung heroes. Network admins keep it all humming. They are the backbone of IT operations, ensuring the CIA triad stays strong. They implement critical security policies, including access control policies, defining who can access what resources, password requirements, and management procedures, as well as network segmentation rules to isolate sensitive systems. Their day-to-day responsibilities include configuring networks, managing routers, switches, and firewalls to maintain secure data flow. In vulnerability management, they conduct regular security assessments, prioritize risk based on potential impact, and follow strict remediation timelines. They also monitor key performance indicators, or KPIs, and security metrics including network uptime and availability, security incident response times, and patch compliance rates. Many of them maintain certifications like the CISSP, CCNA, or Network Plus through continuing education. Understanding these responsibilities is essential as they represent the practical application of security principles. Next, let's explore convergence and VOIP, where networks multitask. Now it's time to talk convergence, a game-changing shift in how modern networks operate. In today's world, networks need to handle everything from emails to video calls efficiently over a single infrastructure. This convergence is crucial because it reduces cost, simplifies management, and establishes new services. Think about the fiber channel over Ethernet, or FCOE, carrying storage traffic, or the Internet Small Computer Systems Interface, or ISCSI, connecting storage servers to storage arrays, all unified on a single network. The star of convergence here is Voice over IP, or VoIP, which transforms communication by running phone calls over the internet rather than traditional phone lines. There's two key protocols to make VoIP possible: SRTP and SIP. Let's see how they work together in a typical business call. When you dial a colleague's extension, the Session Initiation Protocol, or SIP, acts like a switchboard operator. It finds your colleague's phone, rings it, and sets up the connection. Once connected, the Secure Real-Time Transport Protocol, or SRTP, takes over, encrypting your voice data in a secure stream that prevents eavesdropping. It's like having a private soundproof tunnel for your conversation. But here's the catch. VoIP brings several security challenges. The obvious one is phishing, or voice phishing, where attackers spoof caller IDs to trick you into revealing sensitive information, like a scammer impersonating your bank. But that's not all. Attackers might try to intercept calls to eavesdrop on sensitive conversations, launch denial of service attacks to disrupt service, or even manipulate the QoS to degrade call quality. To defend against these threats, you need a comprehensive approach. Lock down your SIP configurations. Enforce SRTP encryption. Implement strong access controls. And then train users to recognize social engineering attempts. Remember, voice traffic is now part of your network security architecture. It needs the same rigorous protection as your data. All right, now we've built this awesome network. Now, how do we keep it humming? Welcome to monitoring and management, your network's health check. This is about making sure your network is fast, reliable, and locked down tight. First up is network observability. It's like having X-ray vision into your network. You're collecting data and watching everything with tools for infrastructure monitoring, packet analysis, and real-time alerts. These tools work together, watching your server health, digging into packet details, and alerting you when something is off. Traffic shaping is like playing traffic cop, prioritizing voice over IP so your calls don't sound like a robot uprising. For example, you might set QoS rules to give video conferencing 20% of bandwidth during business hours while limiting file downloads to 10%. Capacity management means keeping an eye on usage so you're ready for spikes. A good rule of thumb is to plan for an extra 30% of headroom above your peak usage for these spikes. Fault detection is your early warning system, catching hiccups like a down switch before users start to panic. You can use a SIM or security information and event management tool to set up monitoring baselines during normal operations. Then configure alerts when metrics deviate by 20% or more. Critical alerts should trigger immediate notifications, while warnings might go to daily reports. Performance metrics are key for security and efficiency. Bandwidth is your maximum data transfer rate, while throughput is the data transfer rate you're actually getting. This is usually 70 to 80% of bandwidth. Latency is a measure of the delay in your network transmission. Jitter refers to the variation in network transmission delay, or the variations in latency. Traffic flows in 4 directions. North-south is going in and out of the data center, and east-west is internal device chatter. Tools like SIM systems correlate these patterns with security events, helping spot anomalies that could indicate breaches. Now remember these monitoring best practices. Establish performance baselines during normal operations. Set graduated alert thresholds. Document escalation procedures for each alert level, and regularly review and update monitoring parameters. Now that we understand how to monitor and manage our networks, let's look at the threats they face and how attackers try to compromise them. Let's dive into network attacks. They come in 2 main flavors, passive and active. Passive attacks are sneaky, like eavesdropping ninjas sniffing traffic without touching or modifying it. Active attacks are much louder, directly messing with our systems. You can take another look at the Lockheed cyber kill chain that we reviewed in one of our earlier sessions for a more detailed look at attacks. But at a very high level, attacks follow 4 key phases, each with distinct signs and countermeasures. First, the attacker starts with recon. They may spend days, weeks, or sometimes longer here. They gather information about your environment, and during this phase, you can watch out for unusual port scans or DNS queries. Next is enumeration, which could last for hours or days. They map out your network so they can understand the big picture. Monitor for repeated login attempts here. The next phase is vulnerability analysis, where the attacker may spend a few days looking for weak spots in your environment. Look for targeted probe attempts during this phase. And finally, the last phase is exploitation. This could be as quick as minutes or hours. This is the actual attack. Detect attacks through sudden or unexpected system changes. Defenders can respond to each of these phases. They can block recon IPs, implement login limits, patch vulnerabilities, and have incident response ready to go. There's a few key attack types to be on the lookout for. A denial of service, or DOS attack, is where only one attack machine is coming at your environment. Now, a distributed denial of service, or DDoS attack, ups the ante with a bot army coming for your network from potentially thousands of directions. A man-in-the-middle, or MITM attack, slips between connections, like hotel Wi-Fi intercepting guest data, and spoofing fake IP addresses or domains. Now let's talk technical for a minute. Remember the TCP 3-way handshake we discussed during the transport layer of the OSI model? SIN scanning abuses this handshake. Think of it like knocking on every door in a building to see who's home. If you send a SIN packet to a port and you get a SIN ACK reply, now you know that that port is open. We also have SIN flooding, where the system is being overwhelmed with connection requests. ARP poisoning tricks devices by faking MAC addresses, which hijacks the traffic flows. For a defense in-depth approach, you need multiple layers. Preventative controls like firewalls, access controls and encryption, detective controls like IDS or IPS. log monitoring and anomaly detection, responsive controls like incident response plans and system backups, and recovery controls including business continuity procedures. There's a few key tools here that attackers use for these attacks. Ping is a command line tool that checks connectivity. Traceroute maps network paths. Nmap scans and can identify vulnerabilities, like finding unlocked doors. And then John the Ripper tests password strength to see if any passwords can be cracked. But these same tools can also help defenders secure their systems. It's all about perspective and proper authorization. Are you using the tool for malicious purposes or not? Do you have permission to do what you're doing? Now that we've covered network attack types and defenses, let's explore how organizations connect across the globe using WANs. Wide area networks, or WANs, connect local area networks, or LANs, across long distances using various technologies like leased lines, like those from your local internet service provider, or ISP, satellites, and packet services. Think of WANs as the highways connecting cities across a country. Let's explore the key WAN protocols and their characteristics. First, we have the X.25 protocol. This legacy protocol still appears in some networks where reliability is more important than speed. While it's slow due to extensive error checking, it's extremely reliable. Then there's Frame Relay. This protocol was popular in the 90s and early 2000s. It uses virtual circuits for faster data transmission, trading some reliability for better speed compared to X.25. Many organizations used it for connecting branch offices before we had MPLS. Asynchronous Transfer Mode, or ATM, excels at handling mixed voice, video, and data traffic through fixed-size cells. This is a common protocol found in telecom backbones, where consistent delivery is crucial. Unlike Frame Relay's variable frames, ATM's fixed cell size ensures predictable performance for time-sensitive data like voice calls. Finally, there's the Multi-Protocol Label Switching, or MPLS. This is today's leading solution that creates private highways for data across shared infrastructure. Unlike older protocols, MPLS uses intelligent label switching to route traffic efficiently. It's perfect for enterprises needing secure, reliable connections between locations, especially for applications like video conferencing and cloud services. Now we have to secure our wide area networks. The foundation here is encryption. It's absolutely crucial for protecting your data as it travels across vast distances. You'll need to implement both IPsec and SSL TLS protection. IPsec comes in two modes: transport mode for end-to-end security and tunnel mode for site-to-site VPNs. Then for SSL TLS protection, stick to TLS versions 1.2 or 1.3. You should also implement Perfect Forward Secrecy, or PFS, which generates unique session keys so that even if a server's private key is compromised, past communications stay secure. Regular security audits are essential. Ideally, you should aim for quarterly reviews, though timing may vary based on business or regulatory requirements. Your audits should examine configurations, encryption implementation, access control mechanisms, and compliance with standards like HIPAA or PCI DSS. Keep these key defensive measures in mind. For network segmentation, deploy MPLS VPNs and use dedicated circuits for critical data. Then monitor and stay alert for common threats like man-in-the-middle attacks, DNS hijacking, and DDoS attempts. Remember that service providers, whether for internet, cloud, or otherwise, could potentially access your data as it's traveling. Always treat them as untrusted. Implement end-to-end encryption and maintain strict access controls. All right, let's tie this all together. We've covered so much today. Networks need security. The OSI model serves as your essential roadmap for understanding them. Each layer from 1 to 7 has specific roles, devices, and protocols that all work together. Smart network design combines topologies, segmentation, wireless security, and SDNs. Network admins, monitoring systems, and attack prevention form your defensive strategy. And finally, WANs are the global connectors that link local networks across cities, countries, into a cohesive infrastructure. For the CISSP exam, focus on understanding how these pieces work together. Don't just memorize facts. All right, now finally, that is it for Objective 4.1. Keep that momentum going. If you need to revisit anything, no sweat. These recordings stay on YouTube, and I'll add chapters post-stream to jump to specific topics. These ideas will resurface in other domains, so keep connecting them to real-world management scenarios. You're doing awesome. Now who's ready for the after party? I'm heading now to our Study GRC Discord server's CISSP voice channel. It's perfect for questions, insights, and connecting with others in the community. If you're not in the Discord yet, you can visit cissp.brittwhite.io for the Discord link. Our next session will be Tuesday, April 22nd at 6 p.m. US Central Time. We'll be continuing Domain 4, Communications and Network Security. Now, thanks for watching. I'll see you in Discord.